Hi, guys. Thank you for joining me this week to hang out. I'm your host, Ruchika, and welcome to a new episode of Being That 80/20 Girl, the podcast where we break down life in your 30s, finding balance, nurturing your wellness, and embracing all the beautiful chaos along the way. In today's episode, we're just going to be reflecting about all of my ins and outs for December 2024. Because let's be real, December is a time to celebrate, reflect, and get ready for a fresh start. In India right now, the energy, the celebrations, and the sheer beauty of this time of the year have me feeling all kinds of ways. So let's talk about the ways I'm intentionally focusing on wellness, self care, and still managing to have the best time ever as I soak in the magic of this season. So grab your favorite warm drink, settle in, and let's get into it. Before we get into this week's episode, I'd like to do a quick weekly recap. What a week! I can't even begin to describe how special our trip to Goa was. This past 2 weeks have been insane with activity, trips, events, and non stop celebrations. So, the first week we were in Goa, it was full of beautiful moments, good vibes, and unforgettable memories. It all started when Rohan and I decided to drive down to Goa for my college roommate's wedding. We set off on the day of the Mehndi, and the journey itself turned out to be an adventure in its own right. The drive was so scenic, long stretches of coastline, lush greenery, and insanely picturesque landscapes that made the trip feel like part of the entire experience. As always, I wanted to be behind the wheel for the majority of the drive, otherwise, Ron makes me the passenger princess. But I love driving. So I know Rowan gets sleepy during long drives, and honestly, because I love it so much, it just works out perfectly. There's something so freeing about being on the open road, just the two of us chatting, listening to music. It was pure bliss. Just before we reached Goa, we made a quick stop at this famous local seafood joint. I'm always the one who checks for reviews, special local cuisines, and all that. But then Rowan just like stumbled upon something we saw on the way, and it turned out to be so good. It was just wow. The seafood was amazing, fresh, flavorful, and so authentically Goan. It was definitely a highlight of the trip, even before the trip began. Once we arrived in Goa, the next 3 days were packed with back to back events: Mendi, Haldi, Sangeet, and the wedding itself. We stayed in this gorgeous villa with my college friends on the river, and let me tell you, it was the perfect setting for a reunion. After years of being apart, it felt so good to be back together with everyone, along with our plus ones, which are our add ons now in life, we call them. We laughed, reminisced, and made new memories while soaking up all the wedding festivities. One of the best parts of the trip was reconnecting with one of our friends who had moved to Goa with her husband. They were the perfect hosts, showing us around like locals. We got exclusive behind the scene tours of the best restaurants and bars in the area and places that were just truly authentic with a true Goan vibe. From hidden gem seafood spots to quirky beach bars, we felt like we were getting the best of Goa in a way that no tourist ever would. In the evenings, after the wedding madness, we would all gather and unwind together. We'd practice our Sangeet performance, drink, swim in the ocean, and just let loose. It was so nice to catch up with everyone. No schedules, no deadlines, just pure, unfiltered fun. The entire experience felt like one long celebration of friendship and love. But the best part, after the wedding, Rohan and I decided to extend our stay for a couple of days, just impromptu, just the two of us. We checked into this incredible hotel on Ishwam Beach, and it truly felt like paradise. So just let me walk you through this. Our room had this enormous window that opened up right onto the ocean. Imagine waking up to that view every morning. The entire vibe of the place was so serene and calm, and we spent our days completely immersed in the beauty of the beach. I am such a mermaid, everybody knows that. So my mornings would begin with long swims in the ocean, seriously, hours of just floating and soaking in the sun. It was the most therapeutic way to start my day. And because Rohan doesn't really like to go into the water, we indulged in room service because why not? And he would spend all day like looking out in the ocean, drinking, watching TV, ordering some room service. And then we would just go on and try out some local eateries and we could watch sunset right from the comfort of our room. I can honestly say I couldn't have asked for a better way to end this vacation. Every moment felt extremely special, and it was just the perfect combination of relaxation, adventure, and connection. This trip to Goa wasn't just about the wedding, it was about celebrating life, friendship, and the beauty of slowing down to enjoy little things. From the drive down to the wedding festivities to the private tours and the quiet moments, it truly was one of the most memorable vacations I've had in a long time. It felt like the perfect reset, and I'll cherish these memories for years to come. Now, next is a roller coaster fun in Raipur for one of Rohan's friends' wedding. After this unforgettable time in Goa, we kicked off the next week by heading to Raipur for another wedding, this time for one of Rohan's close friends. And let me tell you, it was every bit as epic as Goa. The celebrations began in Pune with a low-key Mendi, where we were only a handful of people from the groom's side. It was a chill, intimate start to what would turn out into an absolute wild week of wedding festivities. The fun truly began when we flew to Raipur in an unexpected twist of fate. 16 of us from the groom's side, yes, 16, somehow ended up on the same flight. I don't know how it happened, but it felt like fate and it definitely set the tone for a weekend full of camaraderie and fun. As soon as we landed, we had a 2 hour drive ahead of us to the hotel. And let me just say, the journey was more than worth it. First of all, it felt like it was never ending. So, in the middle of the drive, we stopped at this unassuming local dhaba that served pure vegetarian food. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not typically the biggest fan of vegetarian food, but this place exceeded all expectations. The flavors were bold, fresh, and incredibly satisfying. Every dish was better than the last and so filling. When by the time we finished, we were like so satiated. But the real standout, the rabdi. This rich, creamy, sweet dessert that was absolutely out of this world. It was the perfect end to an unexpected culinary delight, and I'm still dreaming about it. Finally, after the stop, we made our way to the hotel and the party began as soon as we arrived. The first night was one for the books. We drank, laughed, and caught up with each other till 4 a.m., reminiscing over beers and enjoying the carefree vibe of it all. The next morning, though, we were up early and ready to dive into the next phase of the wedding. We had a huge tempo traveler bus booked for the entire group, which meant we were all traveling together wherever we went. The fun of that alone, laughing, sharing stories, and all of us crammed into one bus, made everything feel like one big celebration from the get go. Raipur's wedding festivities were nothing short of spectacular. Over the next few days, we had the engagement, haldi, sangeet, wedding, and reception, all the works. And honestly, what makes these weddings so special isn't just the grand events themselves, it's the little moments in between. The fun lies in the collective energy of everyone coming together to celebrate the couple and each other. We danced non stop from the haldi ceremony all the way through the sangeet, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say we danced all day long. From sunrise to sunset, we couldn't get enough of the music and just being in the moment with friends. It was one of those days when you're too caught up in the fun to even realize how many hours have passed. The food was, of course, out of this world. Each event had an extravagant spread, and I don't think any of us stopped eating. Every dish was better than the last. The sheer abundance of food paired with the non-stop dancing made for a weekend of pure indulgence. North Indians know how to eat and they know their food, period. Then came the Barat, the traditional procession where the groom is taken to the wedding venue while all the others are dancing ahead of him. And let me tell you, this was wild. We danced for 2 hours straight, covering a stretch of about 100 meters. The energy was electric, and the whole group was in sync, making it a moment to remember. It was filled with music, laughter, joy, and it just was one huge celebration of life. The wedding itself was so dreamy, the decor was stunning. The beautiful flowers, lights, and intricate details everywhere you looked. As the couple exchanged vows, fireworks went off in the background, and it just added a magical touch to the entire ceremony. The bride and the groom looked absolutely beautiful, radiating joy and love, and the entire atmosphere felt like something straight out of a fairy tale. After the wedding, we had an incredible reception that kept the party going well into the night. From the food to the music to everything was just perfect. But what made it truly special was being surrounded by friends, laughing, celebrating, and sharing such a beautiful moment with a couple. Looking back, this wedding was more than just a celebration of love between those two people. It was the reminder of joy of being surrounded by the people you care about, creating memories, and just dancing like no one's watching. It was one of the weddings that you don't want to end, and I honestly don't think I'll ever forget the energy, fun, and connections we made during that week. Ragpur will always hold a special place in my heart, not only because of this incredible wedding, but because of the amazing time we had as a group. It was one of those rare weddings that brought everyone together in the most magical way possible. I can't wait to see what the next wedding brings because India right now is wild with weddings and we have like so many more weddings left to attend. And if it's anything like this, we're in for so many unforgettable adventures. And although it's wedding season all around, and while we're very exhausted from all the celebrations, we're so incredibly grateful for the strong relationships and bonds we've built over the years. Being a part of our friends' milestones and witnessing these special moments with them is truly an honor, and it makes all this hustle worth it. Now, let's get into our episode and kick things off with the good stuff, my ins and outs for December. So, first, we'll go with my ins. These are the habits, practices, mindsets I'm embracing this entire month to feel my best, recharge, and stay connected to my purpose. So, the very first one is festivals, family, and traditions. December in India is full of festive energy, whether it's Christmas, New Year, or the innumerous weddings we get to attend, and the celebrations are just everywhere. I've been soaking in the joy of being with family, reconnecting with old friends, and participating in all these celebrations that come with the season. It's like I'm almost like catching up to everything that I've missed when I was in America, and it just is so wholesome for me every year. The festive lights, sweet smells of food, music, everyone with so much happiness and joy. It's just like so special. In fact, Mags has done up such a beautiful tree at our home in Bombay, and she's even hosting a Christmas party. There are non-stop weddings, get-togethers, reunions, birthdays, anniversaries. But I'm also making sure I stay grounded and connected to my wellness practices amidst this excitement. But I just love this time of the year. Now, the next one is prioritizing slow mornings. If you've been following along, you know I'm all about starting the day with intention. This month, slow mornings are just non negotiable. I've been waking up early, taking time to enjoy a cup of coffee or my matcha, and just carving out time and space for journaling, meditation, and working out. There's something about this time of the year that makes me want to be more mindful and intentional about how I begin my day. Instead of rushing into work or social media or the chaos of the day, I'm just grounding myself first, which honestly has made a huge difference in my energy and my mindset. It's almost like it's a cascading effect. If I have a good morning, then I generally have a good day. Another big in this month for me is my Pilates yoga and mindfulness. I'll be honest, I've skipped it the first full week of December because we had these destination weddings we attended. But I've really leaned into the physical and mental benefits of this practice, whether it's a slow morning flow or an evening stretch to unwind. It's been my go to way to feel grounded all of this week. I've been incorporating mindful practices into my daily life, especially when I feel overwhelmed with all the festivities and the travel. Pausing to breathe, focusing on the present moment, and finding calm amidst the chaos has just helped me stay centered and relaxed. Now, the next one, of course, is self care as a non negotiable. Self care is truly at the top of my list right now. I'm learning that I can't pour from an empty cup. So, this month has been all about treating myself with the kindness and attention I deserve. From getting regular massages to having guilt free solo time in the evenings to watch my favorite shows, I'm being intentional about filling my own cup so I can show up as my best version of myself to everybody. Currently, me and Rohan are obsessed with this show called Industry on HBO, which I stumbled upon on Instagram. It's been such a guilty pleasure for us and such a highlight at the same time because from the very first episode of the first season, we have just been hooked. Whether we watch it together or caught up watching it in our own time. We would debrief and then come back to it and meet at one episode where we would pick up watching it together again. We have loved taking out time from our day to day schedules and catching up on it, cozied up in bed with our favorite takeout. It's been so comforting in this chaotic time of the season. And now this is the perfect segue to my next in, which is eating mindfully. So let's talk about food because let's face it, this time of the year is delicious. I'm focusing on eating mindfully, paying attention to what fuels my body and makes me feel good. But here's the thing, I'm fully enjoying all the festive foods India has to offer, whether it's gajar ka halwa at one reception or crispy samosas in Raipur without guilt. So we have been attending back to back weddings, birthday parties, reunions, and so many events that it's inevitable to not indulge in these festivities. And it would honestly be a crime to do so. Life's too short to not enjoy the things you love, and I'm embracing the 80-20 rule. Eating healthy most of the time, but allowing space for indulgence without stress. I know I'll get back to my schedule the next day or the next week, and it's no big deal. So for 2 weeks, I went all out, but I'm back to my working out and eating healthy now, even though the whole month is packed with events. My next in, which is so important, is quality over quantity. The holidays, especially in our 30s, are a time when we can get caught up in the social whirlwind of large parties, work events, and casual meetups. While these gatherings can be fun, I've realized that they often feel more like a checkbox on a social to do list than a chance to create meaningful memories. Instead of attending every event we're invited to, I've made a conscious effort to spend more time with the people who truly matter to me, which are close friends, family, and loved ones. I've started to value those quieter moments with a few close people over the noise of large, sometimes superficial gatherings. Whether it's a cozy dinner at home with my best friends or a weekend trip with family, these are the only listening. No distractions, no competing conversations, just time spent connecting on a deeper level. So I've tried to balance like these large gatherings with these intimate events for the whole month. And that's how I've scheduled them so that one doesn't take away from the other. When we're constantly hopping from one social event to the next, we often forget that the best memories can't really be made by being everywhere all at once. The best memories are made by sharing experiences that feel personal, meaningful, and significant. So that's why I'm learning to choose quality over quantity. And by doing so, I'm avoiding social burnout. Instead of feeling pressure to attend every single event, I'm being more selective about where I invest my time. It's a relief to be able to turn down invitations without guilt, knowing I'm preserving my mental health and my emotional well being. Now, the last but not the least in is the perfect end, which is reflection and setting intentions for the new year. With the year wrapping up, I'm spending more and more time reflecting on everything that's unfolded in 2024, the wins, the lessons, and the moments of growth. I've been journaling a lot about my journey and thinking about how I want to show up in 2025. I'm setting clear intentions for the upcoming year, focusing on how I continue to balance work, wellness, and personal growth. And I'm just so excited to embrace the new beginnings that come with the start of the fresh year. I'm completely charged up to get into this new year, and I'm already setting up myself for it by doing the things that I would want to do next year, by already starting to do them right now. Now, let's dive into the outs, the things I'm consciously leaving behind this December. As we close out this year and prepare for the next, I find that letting go of whatever no longer serves me is one of the most crucial steps in making room for new growth. So, my very first out is overscheduling and saying no with confidence. This has been one of the biggest lessons for me this year, which is learning to say a no. If you haven't tuned into my last episode, please go ahead and do so. It's packed with so much impactful advice and content about the saying no guilt, and then why it's so powerful to do so for yourself, and then showing up for yourself by saying no in different ways. I'm so guilty of overcommitting, whether it's work obligations, social events, or trying to please others. I've been a victim of this for years now. But honestly, it's left me feeling drained and overwhelmed to no limit. This month, I've been practicing saying no without guilt, carving out time for myself, and really focusing on what aligns with my values and my wellness. It's been a true game changer. My next out is perfectionism and unnecessary stress. Perfectionism is one of those sneaky habits that creeps into different aspects of our life, often disguised as something productive or quote unquote aspirational. We think it's a sign of ambition or high standards, but in reality, it often leads to burnout, unnecessary stress, and this deep sense of dissatisfaction. I'll be the first to admit, for so long, I believed that perfection was the goal, whether it was in my work, my appearance, or even in how I showed up in my relationships. I constantly felt this pressure to be flawless, to do things perfectly. But this December, I'm choosing to let go of perfectionism and embrace the idea that imperfection is not only acceptable, it's beautiful. Also, here's the thing I've come to realize: perfectionism isn't sustainable and it certainly isn't fulfilling. Instead of striving for an idealized version of myself, I'm focusing on authenticity. I'm learning that being real and vulnerable is so much more powerful than trying to appear perfect. The more I embrace authenticity, the more I realize that the people who truly connect with me are those who appreciate me for who I am and not for some version of myself that I'm trying to uphold. In my relationships, I've started to let go of the pressure to be the perfect friend or the perfect partner. It's okay if I don't always have the right words or if I can't always be there in every moment. What matters is showing up even when I'm not at my best. People appreciate honesty, openness, and the willingness to be vulnerable. Those are the things that build deep, meaningful connections, not perfection. Another one of my outs is toxic positivity or ignoring emotions. This holiday season is often romanticized as a time of pure joy, excitement, and celebration. Social media feeds are flooded with smiling families, perfectly curated gatherings, and influences radiating holiday cheer. It's easy to get caught up in this vision of the perfect season where everyone is supposed to be happy, energetic, and overflowing with good vibes. But here's the truth: the holidays can also be a time of stress, sadness, anxiety, and loneliness. Whether it's the weight of unmet expectations, the pressure to perform, or simply feeling disconnected from others, not everyone is in a constant state of festive happiness, and that's okay. The term toxic positivity refers to the overemphasis on being happy all the time, especially when it's not authentic or realistic. It's the constant need to just stay positive or to look on the bright side, even when you're struggling emotionally. While there's certainly value in optimism and maintaining a hopeful perspective, there's also imminent danger in invalidating your emotions and pushing yourself to pretend everything is perfect when it's not. During the holiday season, the pressure to conform to the image of happy, shiny, and perfect can be very overwhelming. The world around us often makes us feel like we should be feeling nothing but joy, abundance, and cheer. This pressure can create guilt, shame, and self doubt when we feel sadness, stress, or simply exhaustion. And this has happened to me multiple times. And I keep telling myself this, which is it's okay to not be okay. I don't have all days that I'm happy and excited. I also have my down days when I'm not feeling up to it and I just want to lay low. So on those days, I don't really wear a festive smile if it doesn't reflect how I feel. I'm allowed to feel tired, overwhelmed, frustrated, or even a little sad, especially when the year has been challenging or uncertain. Instead of pushing yourself to be happy or pretending everything is perfect, give yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling. If you're sad, acknowledge that sadness without guilt. If you're stressed, recognize the source of stress and honor the need for boundaries or rest. Remember, your emotions don't define you, they're simply a part of your experience. You can feel sadness and joy in the same breath. If social events or family gatherings feel overwhelming, it's perfectly okay to say no or leave early. We have done this so many times. It's not selfish, it's self care. Take time to recharge and focus on your own mental well being. Whether that means taking a quick walk, meditating, reading a book, or spending time in nature. Make sure you're carving out moments for yourself. Setting boundaries helps you preserve your energy and emotional balance during a busy season. Now, my last out is negative self talk and comparison. This is a big one for me, one I've been working on for a while. The struggle to silence negative self talk and let go of comparison can be incredibly challenging, especially in a world where social media seems to amplify both. It's easy to get caught in the trap of measuring yourself against others, whether it's someone's career success, their body, their lifestyle, or even their seemingly perfect holiday moments. But I'm realizing that this habit of comparing my journey to someone else's is not only unproductive, but it also steals the joy of my own path and stops me from being present. We all have that internal dialogue that shapes how we see ourselves and the world. The problem arises when that inner voice becomes harsh, critical, and dismissive of our achievements. Negative self talk sounds like I'm not doing enough, I'll never be as successful as her, or I'm not where I'm supposed to be in life. This kind of thinking can create an emotional spiral that leaves you feeling defeated, stuck, and disconnected from your own potential. So, this December, I've made a conscious decision to challenge those negative thoughts and beliefs that pop up in the mind. Instead of letting them dominate my day or my mood, I choose to replace them with kindness and understanding. I reframe the narrative with positive affirmations, and it's almost like I compartmentalize these things and lock them up and be like, okay, I'm going to focus on being positive, but I know that these are there. I'll acknowledge them. I'll let myself feel it, but I'll not wallow myself there. I've learned that being hard on myself doesn't motivate me to grow or change. It just keeps me stuck in a cycle of self doubt. So I'm replacing the not good enough thoughts with the I'm doing my best and that's enough kind of thinking. And that's a wrap on today's episode, guys. December 2024 is all about finding the perfect balance between wellness, self care, and living life to the fullest. I hope this episode has inspired you to embrace the celebrations, prioritize yourself, and get ready for a beautiful new year ahead. As we close out this year, I encourage you to take a moment for yourself, reflect on your journey, set your intentions, and most importantly, take care of your mind, body, and soul. You deserve it. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a review. I would love to hear what your ins and outs are for this December. Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care, and here's to a joyful, intentional 2025. Hope you find the 80-20 balance we always talk about.